Let's talk about how we go about loading a rifle. Now, of course, every teenager that's played Call of Duty knows that you put the magazine in, you hit the bolt release, and now you're ready to go to work. But something that a lot of new shooters struggle with is the actual handling of this magazine. A lot of times they'll pull it out of their kit, they'll draw it, and then they're like holding it with their fingertips and trying to just mash it into the magazine well, and they struggle with it. And especially if they're trying to keep situational awareness, looking at other stuff, looking for targets. You can speed this up quite a bit if you just give them a little bit of help. Make sure that they are holding their magazine with a C-grip, just like that. Not so tight that you're going to interfere with the actual loading of the magazine, but something so you have good control over, not that fingertip crap. Then what you do is you bring it up, and guys inevitably want to just start mashing it into the magazine well, and that is not going to work because there's just not enough tolerance there. There's too many opportunities for it to miss. So what I like to do is have guys pick a corner. I usually pick this back left corner right here. And so you bring it up just like that, and a single corner can go into the mag well very easy. It's hard to miss that, even if you're looking around. And this can come up, and then it's just a matter of rotating it, and you've got it locked into place. I think the Marine Corps does a similar thing where they teach the back edge, and they come up, and then it's just a matter of rocking it forward. As you progress, it might be easy to pick that left one where it just comes up into that just very simple motion there, rotate, pop it in. Very easy to do, and you can do it without looking at the rifle. Once you get good at it, it's very easy to just make it become second nature. Magazine goes in so that guys aren't fidgeting around. They can go back to working on actual marksmanship skills rather than just weapons manipulation. Let's talk magazine reloads. I'm going to show you 3 different techniques in 2 different categories. The first category and first technique is what you call an emergency reload, or a reload without retention. In this situation, we have run completely empty in this magazine, and our job is to get ammunition back in this gun as quickly as possible. So what we're going to do is just press the button, drop the magazine. It's completely empty. Our job is to get this gun reloaded as fast as possible. Draw your new mag, put it in, press the button, go back to work, right? Super simple, super easy. The point is you just drop that mag, get a new mag in, like we talked about in the earlier video. Quick and easy. But sometimes you may run into situations where you shot a bunch of rounds. You may not remember how many rounds you shot. Did you shoot 10 rounds? Did you shoot 20? Did you shoot 29? You still have ammunition in the gun, but you don't know how much. Now it's time to do what you call a tactical reload, or a reload with retention, depending on what you call it. Doesn't really matter. But the point is here, we're going to hang on to this magazine. It still has ammunition in it, and we're going to put it back in our kit. But we want to have the gun without ammunition as short a time as possible. So get your fresh mag ready. First technique I'll show you is the L grip. And what you do is you take your new mag, sandwich it there in an L type position, press the magazine release, and from here you just rotate it. New mag is in. This mag gets stowed back in your kit. Make sure it goes somewhere where you know that this is a partial magazine. You don't want to draw this thinking that it's a full magazine. But now you have a gun, a fresh magazine in the gun, ready to go. The other technique, what you do is you grab it, just like before, nice strong C-grip, but instead you're going to use your thumb and index finger, and you're going to press it in using your index finger as a spacer, so that when you draw it, you have space there, so you can go out, shift it over, in, and now you have your old mag, which you can stash just as easily. Very simple to do. You just smash it in, and you get that space, so you can slide it over. And either of these techniques can be done dry fire over and over and over again. Very easy to get lots of reps in without damaging any of your kit. Just make sure you're good in the practice so that you can do it in real life. I've been seeing a lot of questions in the comments section, people asking why I number my magazines. And the simple answer there is so that I can tell my magazines apart. Magazines tend to be the primary cause of malfunction. So if you start having issues with your rifle, it's better to put away the problem magazine, and then you can identify that this is the problem versus something else. But usually it's with the magazine. Now, with that said, the modern Magpul PMags, these are pretty phenomenal. I don't think I've ever had an issue with them. But especially if you're using the old metal magazines, these were very prone to damage. I believe they were originally designed to be disposable, but of course the U.S. military doesn't like disposable things. But yeah, being, sheet stamp metal and everything. If these get a dent in the wrong spot, the follower can't cycle. If the spring gets bound up, if the feed lips get a little bit bent out of place, you'll start having feeding issues and double feed, stuff like that. A lot of issues arise from damaged magazines, which makes sense. People throw them around, they get used and abused more than the actual weapon system itself. So just by identifying which magazine is which, you can figure out which is the problem child, put it aside, and get back to work. One of the cool things about magazine changes is that it's something you can dry fire to death. You can be in your pajamas, in your living room with empty mags and just do your reloads day in and day out and get really, really good at it without spending any money on ammunition. It's a great thing to practice. But there is a training scar that can occur with this, specifically with the tactical reloads where we're reloading, taking out a partial, replacing it with a new full magazine. And what's tough about this is that when we do this, the bolt carrier is home, right? You can see that right there. So when we load the magazine, the follower or the first round there needs to be depressed slightly so that it can be fully seated. When we're dry firing, of course, we're using an empty magazine so that this is going to come up and it's going to be loaded. Super easy, good to go, no issues. It pops into place just like that. But that only is easy because there's such little spring tension on the follower. Whereas if you use a real life situation, you're reloading, pulling in a 30-round magazine with the bolt home, there's a lot more pressure that needs to be applied to seat those rounds down and get the magazine actually locked into place. So if you just do it like you do at dry fire, it's not going to seat all the way. It takes a little bit of force to pop it in place. So you want to make sure you give it that little extra tug to make sure it's fully seated. Otherwise, you just go in normally, oh, okay, cool, it's seated, except it's not. So make sure when you do your reloads, hammer it home and give it that little tug after the fact. If you're using the old metal Stanag rounds, those have a tendency to not fit 30 rounds very well. It was common practice, like GIs in Vietnam and elsewhere, they would tend to pop out a round so that they would load like 28, 29 rounds in a 30-round magazine. So it has a little bit more give when they go and do those tactical reloads so that they know that it's going home each time. So yeah, keep in mind the training scars that occur naturally in dry fire. Make sure you're not taking over any issues into the live fire. Let's talk about press checks. Now, something I feel pretty strongly about is that if you are not able to feel the difference between closing the bolt on an empty chamber and closing it on a live round like that, if you can't feel the difference between the two, you probably need to spend more time at the range. You should be able to feel the difference so that when you close the bolt, you are confident that there is a round in there. With that said, there are times in which we want to make sure that there is a round in the chamber. Maybe when we were loading and kitting up, everything was really loud. Maybe we just, we loaded the magazine, 8 hours ago and the ambush is about ready to start in 10 minutes. We want to make sure that our round is actually in there and that something weird didn't happen that we didn't notice. When we do that, we do what's called a press check, where we're going to pull the charging handle back a little bit and we're going to inspect to see if the round is actually in there. We don't want to pull it all the way and eject the round, just a little bit. And traditionally, and I believe the Army Marksmanship Manual actually says this, a lot of guys will claw it like this, and then they'll pull it back, and they'll confirm, oh, look, there's brass. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this. This is a correct way to do this. The problem is that the nature of this is that it's kind of hard to keep positive control of the rifle. A lot of guys that are new to it, they struggle with it. The rifle just tends to kind of wiggle around, and a lot of guys, if they're not used to the tension of the buffer spring pushing the bolt forward, they may pull it out too far and it may eject, and it may just give you issues. It's also, you're probably going to ride it forward, and you need to make sure you hit that forward assist to make sure it goes home. A better way to do this is what you do is you grab the buffer tube right there, and you use your thumb. Just like this. The thumb is the strongest finger you've got, and you've got a good anchor position here. So you just pull it forward. You can see that there is a brass case there. And then it's very easy to just let it go and let it fly home. You can probably still hit the forward assist just to make sure it's seated, but it's a hell of a lot easier to make sure, and you're not there's no way for you to pull it so that the round comes flying out at a bad moment. So that's the way I like to do it. If you're doing this at night and you want to make sure there's a round there and you've got night vision on, it's going to be a little bit trickier because, of course, with night vision, you would have to adjust your focal distance to get everything in focus. And even then, if the lighting is right, it may be really hard to tell if there's a round there. So what you're usually going to want to do is same thing, pull it there, pull your finger around there. It's hard for me this angle, but basically you stick your finger in there to actually feel that there is around there. It's very easy to tell where the bolt face is and make sure there's a casing forward of that. Make sure your finger gets out of the way, and then let it ride home. And again, probably good to hit that forward assist to send it home. Side note about safety, I use live rounds for this, obviously. Go ahead and make sure that you're being safe for this. I'm being safe here. If that round somehow magically went off, nothing of importance would be damaged. If you're going to practice this technique, do it either at the range or with dummy rounds. Be safe. Rules of firearm safety still apply, and there's no reason to get hurt over something silly like that.